here at the Marsh, where artists are encouraged and nurtured to explore and experiment in the development of their solo shows. So it's been terrific to have Solo Arts Heal as part of the Marsh stream in this platform where artists share inspiring and courageous real life stories as survivors and caregivers, stories of overcoming adversity and surviving mental and physical challenges and becoming their own advocates, which is important we do in the current world we live in. And as we have, of course, for you tonight with The Good Adoptee, the riveting and outrageous true story of award-winning playwright Suzanne Beckner's search for her birth parents in the face of New York State's sealed records, in the show performed by acclaimed off-Broadway actor Hayley Palmer. So after Hayley's live performance, we'll be joined in Talkback with Suzanne and Director of Adoption Mosaic, Astrid Castro. Solo Arts Heal is our gift to the community we share by offering information and inspiration for individual and community empowerment and advocacy. So here each week, we've been shedding light on diverse medical-related topics shared across all communities, with performance and conversation from cancer to caregiving, OCD, sexual and domestic violence, sensory processing disorders, smoking. And now, once a month, we're also addressing the health crisis of climate change and what we can do about it. Today, we know climate disruption is the biggest challenge humanity has ever faced, with glaciers melting, seas rising, fires raging, and the hottest years on record coming this century. So Solo Arts Heal Climate will help shed light on problems caused by climate change, conversations on how we can work together to solve them. All of these shows present outstanding talent in performance and in talkbacks with guests and our audience, and about these varied health issues that all embrace the healing power of the arts with drama and humor, as we share tonight with our featured performer, Hayley Palmer, and in our talkback. So let me tell you a bit about tonight's featured performer. Hayley Palmer is an actor and teaching artist living in New York City. Originally from San Diego, she received her BA in drama and later MFA in acting from the University of California, Irvine. Hayley was a swing and dance captain in the national tour of Beauty and the Beast, and has performed regionally with PCPA Theater Fest, New Swan Shakespeare Festival, and Mill Mountain Theater. Off-Broadway, Hayley played Lady Macbeth in the New York Times Critics' Pick Drunk Shakespeare for more than 250 performances. She teaches voice, speech, and improvisation for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City, and is guest acting faculty for the University of California, Irvine. She is also currently progressing toward designation in the Linklater voice technique. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming, with live excerpts from The Good Adoptee, Hayley Palmer.
I am the bunny. I am their bunny. I am, in fact, their one and only bunny. I'm not sure how I got the name the bunny. Could be because of the outfits I wear. I say this as if I dress myself, which I don't. They are one-piece flannel footed pajamas in yellow, pink, and white, ears flopping over, white vinyl padding on the feet. We call them bunny suits. I drink strawberry Nestle Quick, and we call it pink bunny milk. I have tiny hands and feet, and they also call me Princess Little Paws. Our favorite bedtime story is The Runaway Bunny, where the baby bunny threatens to run away, but the mommy bunny promises that no matter where he goes or who he becomes, she will find him and bring him home. I feel like their bunny, even though they got me at the bunny store. Sometimes I worry about being returned. When you're a homemade bunny, you can't be returned. I love my parents, and I feel like I belong with them, and I can't imagine myself anywhere else. I always knew I was adopted. I don't remember being told, I just always knew. For me, life did not begin at conception, it began at adoption. My parents rarely refer to the people who gave me life. My dad calls them my biological parents. like they're fruit flies in a laboratory whose only function is to concoct me. For years, I doubt my own existence. Those missing 11 months from conception to adoption, completely erasing any notion of my creation and creating an undermining mystery. Where do I come from? What happened to me? Do I really exist? Am I really here? I finally get up the courage to call my adoption agency, Louise Wise Services. Turns out they're about to close their doors forever. All of their records, including mine, are being transferred to Spence Chapin, another New York adoption agency. I call Spence Chapin, and I'm assigned a social worker named Penelope Link. Yes, the woman who holds the secret to my true identity is named Link. Hi, this is Suzanne Beckner. You're my caseworker. I'm your case. How can I help you? I'm very busy. I want to look into my background. I don't necessarily want to meet anyone. It's good to take it slow, baby steps. That's what we recommend. Are you still there? Yes, sorry. What I'd really like to do is see my file. I just want a copy of it. I can't give you the file. What do you mean? It's not yours. How can my own file not be mine? It belongs to the agency, New York state law. I don't know how I'm not making myself clear. I thought that when I turned 18 and I was ready, I could see my file. That's not how it works, dear. Then explain it to me. You can't see the file. Okay, I got it. I can't see the file. It's for your own protection. How does this possibly protect me? I didn't say it did. I said it was designed to. Okay, I'm not a child. I don't need protection. I need information. Look, dear, it's not up to me. I didn't write the legislation, nor do I agree with it, but we have to follow the law to the letter, no matter how antiquated it is. But if you don't even agree with it, my hands are tied. I could lose my license, and this 100-year-old agency could be forced to shut its doors, or worse, we could get sued. Now, I can help you with your background information once you have filed with NYSARE. What's that? NYSARE, the New York State Adoption Information Registry. I'll send you the form. Click. The missing link does send me the NYSARE form along with a pamphlet decorated with little pink and blue baby footprints. I find this offensive. I am no longer a baby. My foot is larger than the entire pamphlet. Why can't I have access to my origin story, my ancestry, my medical and genetic history that is contained in that file? Why does this complete stranger have access to it and I don't? I decide to let my parents know that I want to do a search. Well, Sue, I can't say that I agree with you doing this. I don't understand why you feel the need to do it. We don't want you to get hurt. People could take advantage of you. People already take advantage of me. It's hard enough with lost files and sealed records. There are reasons for sealed records, right or wrong. That's what people did. If you really feel the need to do this, then I support it because I support you. Yes, of course we support you, Bunny. Thank you. But just know you may be disappointed or even hurt by what you find. We all know the story of the guy who found his biological parents. They rejected him, and then he ended up killing 12 people. What? I am speaking, of course, of David Berkowitz, you know, the son of Sam. What are you saying, Dad, that if I do the search, I'm going to become the daughter of Sam? You never know. I am the ultimate ambivalent searcher. The institutional roadblocks play a role, but so does my own fear. It's been 6 months since my file went missing. Do I really want to rock the boat and open up Pandora's box? Once you know something, you can't unknow it. But once you acknowledge you don't know something, you pretty much have to know it. The searcher I hire calls herself a reunited investigative genealogist. Her name is Pam, and she is a no-find, no-fee adoption search specialist who just landed a reality show on the new Oprah Winfrey Network. She lives in a Jersey McMansion with a home office and cameras for her show rolling 24/7. It's my true calling. I'm an adoptee myself. My own birth mother rejected me years ago when I searched and found her. Now I altruistically channel my pain into the healing and fulfilling work of reuniting other adoptees with their birth families. Like I said, it's my true calling. Congratulations on your show. I can only imagine how busy you must be right now. My work is my biggest priority. I know you've worked on a lot of Louise Wise cases. Oh, you're a Louise Wise baby. See, we're always babies. I'm also a St. Vincent's baby, but unfortunately I was unable to recover my records before they closed. Oh, it's too bad you didn't reach out to me soon. I had a contact there and I had access to the records. Really? Well, I want you to find both of my birth parents, not just my birth mom. What I do is focus intensely on your case at the start. Sometimes it can take as little as a week. So I tell my clients to be prepared for that. Oh, I don't think my case will take a week. My birth mom's last name is Smith. I always love a challenge. I work on a no fine, no fee basis. So I won't charge you unless I find your birth parents. If I don't find anything within the first 4 months, which is the duration of the contract, then I probably won't be able to help you out. But you won't even get charged expenses. But you won't have found my birth parents either. I want to assure you that as an adoptee myself, I would never take advantage of my fellow adoptee. Of course not. Give me a couple months. I'm going to dive right in. Click. I have a good feeling about this. She has a good heart, this Pam, I can tell. Underneath that thick Jersey accent, Pam has considerable skills and experience. Otherwise, Oprah never would have greenlit her show, right? I have finally ushered my challenging case into capable hands. I am positive that she is the person who will find my birth parents. Month 6. The thing is, when I'm working on a case, I have to go all in. I have to completely immerse myself in it, eat, sleep, and shit the case like it's the only thing in the world. That's how I solve my cases. That would be fascinating to see how you do it. I can't divulge trade secrets. Oh, no, of course not. You are a savant. What's that? Oh, you know, like a genius. I am a human being. I can only do so much. What do you think I'm gonna do here, Suzanne? Work miracles? I can only work with what you give me. So it's my fault that the records are sealed, and by a twist of fate, my birth mom's last name is Smith. Like somehow I willed this to make your life more difficult. Sorry. Look, honestly, Suzanne, I'm kind of stressed out because my teenage son is a musician and he's in this band and he's acting all rebellious and out of control and I'm freaking out about it. Oh my God, is she serious? Uh-huh. Pam, it's all going to work out fine. Really. Thanks for listening, Suzanne. No problem. Oh, I have this epiphany. Oh, this really great idea for you. Yeah? Why don't you come on my show on the Oprah Winfrey Network and do a video appeal, you know, straight to the camera, like you're talking directly to your birth parents, real dramatic like. Oh my God, I think I'm gonna be sick. It could be the difference between finding and not finding a birth family. Won't that just make me look really desperate and pathetic? Not that I'm not. Do you wanna find him or don't you? What's your viewership? That's not the point. Think about it, click. Month 9, I'm thrilled to announce that I'm working on an autobiography, you know, a memoir. Oh, that's great. Congratulations. Are you looking for a ghostwriter? Got one. Oh, thank God. So there's going to be this chapter in my book on cases I couldn't solve, cases that totally stumped me. So here's the thing, Suzanne. I totally want to include your case in that chapter in my book. What? In the cases that haunt me chapter. I want you to be a part of it. I don't know what to say. It's not a video appeal. You just be in the book. And here's the good news part. When your case is published in my book, millions of people will read it and hopefully come forward. And then you'll have a greater chance of finding your birth family. This is how you choose to tell me that my case is completely hopeless. You don't have the decency to give me an update on my case. You just launch into your book deal like I give a shit and let me know you can't solve my case by telling me that the good news is you want to include my unsolvable case in your fucking book. Oh, you're being really unprofessional. I'm being unprofessional. If you don't stop yelling at me, I'm gonna hang up. I'm not yelling. You're using a bad tone. I am not using a bad tone. Click. When I get off the phone, Bob informs me that I was indeed using a bad tone, but only when I ask him 2 days later, beep, Suzanne, it's Pamela. I found your birth father's family. I reached out to them. It's definitely them. Call me.
I thought we agreed that you weren't going to talk to anyone without my permission.
It was the only way I could confirm that I'd found your birth family.
I thought my case was on hold.
Suzanne, I found your birth family.
How do you know it's them?
I spoke to your Uncle Sandy.
Uncle Sandy?
When I called the house, I said to him, I am calling on behalf of a long-lost relative of your brother's. And do you know what Uncle Sandy said?
No.
He said, she'd be what, 30, 35 now? Boom!
I don't get it.
I made no mention of your age or your gender. And he said, she'd be what, 30 or 35 now? Boom!
Oh my God. So it really is them?
I am sorry to report that your birth father passed away 3 years ago.
Oh. I had a feeling, but to hear it out loud.
I'm going to need you to process your payment in full before I can share all of the information with you. The fee for my service in your case is $2,500. I accept all major credit cards, wire transfer, direct deposit, PayPal, though please note an additional $80 fee applies. Cashier's checks, money orders, and personal checks, but they are held 3 business days. Click.
My birth dad is found, but he's gone. And I will never meet him here. Never. To find out that my birth father passed away 1 year after I actively started searching is heartbreaking. If the records had been open, I may have had an opportunity to meet him.
Thank you for your prompt payment. Your birth father was Stephen Michael Genet, AKA S. Michael Genet. He went by Michael.
Genet, like the playwright?
Who?
The famous French playwright, Jean Genet, the balcony, the maids.
Not ringing a bell. The Genet family hails from Miami and still lives there.
Miami, really? You know, whenever I asked Penny which states comprise the southeastern region of the United States, she always said Florida first.
I'll send you Michael's obituary. It's beautifully written. Michael was married to his 3rd wife at the time of his death. Coincidentally, her name is also Suzanne. He has 5 kids, all in their 20s, but it is unclear which ones, if any, are your biological siblings. 2 of them are born 4 months apart, so it's not like they were in the same womb, right? Maybe some of them were adopted. You know, Suzanne, it is so important that you know who your bios are. There's a natural chemical attraction, so you really got to protect yourself in a sealed record society. You could wind up fucking your brother and having incest babies, and that'd suck, right? Right. Anywho, I can now disclose that your birth mother's first name is Dorothy.
Oh my God. My favorite movie of all time is The Wizard of Oz, and my birth mom's first name is Dorothy. You gotta be kidding me.
I would never. Gotta go. Good luck. Click.
Hello. Is this Suzanne? Yes. This is your mother. Oh. Hi. I got your email, darling. I was completely gobsmacked. Me too. I am over the moon. I'm so excited. I didn't think I'd ever find you. I didn't think I'd ever find you. This is incredible. It's her. There's a real live person on the other end of the phone who conceived me and incubated me and delivered me, who is my mother. Are you still in Ireland? Yes, darling. I can't believe it's really you. This is absolutely surreal. I am so excited. This is just incredible. This is nothing short of a miracle. Am I talking too much? No, not at all. I'm speechless. So I have always loved you and missed you. You are an incredibly difficult person to find. My childhood nickname was Rusty. Everyone called me that because of my red hair, and it just stuck. I changed it legally to Rusty, and I kept my second husband's name after we divorced. Man, my birth parents are really bad with the whole marriage thing. What should I call you? Why don't you call me Mama Two? That way I'm not stepping on your mom's toes. Okay, I like that. Mama Two it is. Wonderful. I'm sorry to cut this short, but I gotta go. Can we talk more later? Of course we can. Anything you need, honey bunny. I take down Rusty's contact information. We agree to talk later, and I hang up the phone. Click. This whole hello, I'm your mother conversation is completely overwhelming. I'm having an out-of-body experience. This connection is so strong and overpowering. I can only take it in small doses. Bob and I go to our spin class. It is, after all, non-refundable. I can't believe I do that. Neither can Bob. What if I never get to talk to her again? What's wrong with me? A few years ago, a stranger telling me I'm your mother would have stopped me in my tracks. My defense system would have gone up in a flash. How dare you call yourself my mother? I only have one mother, and she's a few blocks away in the apartment where she raised me, and you, lady, are an imposter. But I prepared for this. I created the psychic space for the idea, or rather the reality, that I have two sets of parents. She did not identify herself as my mom, but as my mother. The language gets very complicated. Birth mom, first mom, natural mom. There is no satisfactory language, and it can get very touchy. I would never in a million years put a qualifier in front of my mom and dad when referring to them. They're not my adoptive parents, they're my parents. Just like Rusty is not Rusty, like she's a friend of mine, and she's not my biological mother, like that's the only connection. She's Mama Two. It is so weird that Mama Two calls me Honey Bunny, because that's what my mom calls me. Most of the time separate, Honey or Bunny, but sometimes Honey Bunny. It is like I've been struck by a bolt of lightning. I need to catch up with my body. There's this beautiful smoky voice at the end of the line that sounds like mine. And even though I cut the call short, the truth is I can't get enough of it. I could listen to it for hours. Rusty has a beautiful voice. Did I mention that? Melodious, soft, strong, feminine. Speaking with Mama Two is like taking some sort of fantastic drug that affirms my existence. And as I walk away from cycling, where I'm only in my body and I can focus on that and nothing else, and we walk to the diner to have breakfast, it slowly dawns on me. I exist. I actually exist. I know I'm connected to an actual human being. I was not delivered by a stork. I was not manufactured in the Louise Wise baby factory. I did not materialize into being in the bunny store. I was not transported from outer space and put into my parents' arms when they adopted me. I know there is a real connection. This woman who is part of me, who is walking around planet Earth, from whom I actually came. I come from a real, live, flesh and blood human being who is speaking her beautiful voice to me. I am floating on air. I exist. I am real. I am here. Thank you so much. That was the Good Adoptee.
That was beautiful, Hayley. It's just,
thank you, Gail.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was very moving, and really brought a tear to my eye. And the descriptions and your performance, I can certainly see your incredible characters
Thank
are so
you.
beautifully performed. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
yourself are not an adoptee.
I'm not. No.
No. So I want
So
to talk to you about, because you bring it so to life on stage, and I want to talk to you about that. But let's bring everyone into the conversation here, and we can
sure.
have a fuller conversation with everybody. I want to bring both Suzanne and Astrid into the conversation, but first I do want to remind audiences that posted in the chat is the tip jar, and any support you're able to give is much appreciated. And also there is matching tip support tonight. So any support you can give, it will be very appreciated. And we also encourage questions and comments from the audience, which you can post in the chat, and we're going to answer as many as we can. Our producers, Brian and Brianna, will help us keep an eye on that. And I really encourage your questions. So now I want to welcome into the conversation our guest. And let me give you an introduction, each of you. Suzanne Beckner is the award-winning playwright and director of The Good Adoptee and an adoptee rights advocate, as we have learned. Her hit play Circle ran for 5 months off Broadway, was produced nationally, won Most Daring Show of the London Fringe during its sold-out international tour, and was called ingenious by the New York Times. Playwriting and directing credits include a 6-month run of her New York City cult hit Icons and Outcasts, a 5-month New York City run and international tour of her Choose Your Own Adventure comedy Bite, and 14-actor San Diego Commission and marriage equality epic Brilliant Mistake, and her kaleidoscopic memoir play We Call Her Benny, which Broadway World called The Future of Theater. Solo show directing and development include Bob Brader's acclaimed winning solo shows, including Spitting in the Face of the Devil, which we're going to see in coming months, and Smoker, and Gloria Rosen's award-winning Listen, Can You Hear Me Now? And of course, tonight's true story, The Good Adoptee, which won Best Autobiographical Script Award at United Solo and has toured in London and across the U.S. and has been part of law and life-changing adoptee rights advocacy. Suzanne studied playwriting with Romulus Linney and Adrienne Kennedy and holds an MFA from the Actors Studio Drama School of the New School University. She's a four-time OOBR winner and a member of United Solo Academy and Dramatists Guild. My goodness, Suzanne, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. And Astrid Castro is founder and director of Adoption Mosaic, a Portland, Oregon-based organization dedicated to providing space where adoption community feels valued, heard, understood, and accepted as full member of their family and society. Astrid leads and presents groups, talks, and workshops in adoption and race nationwide, as she has for 30 years. She co-authored Adoption in the Movies, developed an innovative evidence-based training DVD, Adoptive Parent Training, and was contributing author for the book Parents as Adoptees. Her personal experience as an adoptee, as a woman of color, and of growing up in a white family and community fuel her professional path to supporting others. Astrid, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So good to have you here. So I'd love to jump right in. And actually, I guess offhand, this will be a question really for both you, Suzanne and Astrid, about what kind of trauma is associated with the experience of adoption.
Well, I think Hayley just dramatized it beautifully. For me personally, a lot of it had to do with just that disconnection of not knowing where I came from and having all of those missing pieces, which really at a very early age caused a brewing existential crisis. And I can just say that when existential crises are not intervened with, they really snowball and they can be very undermining. So just not having that connective piece, it's just the displacement of being sort of snatched from an ancestral and genealogical line in a family and being placed in a completely other one without the acknowledgement and integration growing up, that those things coexist. Because for the adoptee, or for this adoptee, they're always there. Both of those lines are always there, and you have to sort of embody them and acknowledge them and draw on them. And if you're cut off from them, you're really just sort of not a full. You're not your full self.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be fully realized.
Did you always feel that way, or was it greater as you got older and you knew that you thought you were going to be able to obtain the information when you turned 18, you said?
Yes, and I wasn't chomping at the bit to do that either, because it was really much more comfortable to say, oh, my parents that I know, my family that I know, that's the whole story. And when you're forming an identity, growing up as a kid, and that's what you have to draw on, you can kind of sort of blank out that other stuff. So the missing stuff, acknowledging that it is missing stuff, is really overwhelming. It's like when Hayley in the show goes to pick up that phone for the first time, it's like this monumental thing that you can say, oh, I'm just making this call, but all of the underlying what that means is so deep, because people really do talk about it as like opening Pandora's box, because once you're acknowledging that you have those missing pieces, you go into a limbo where you're not in one world or the other world. You don't know one world or the other world, and so the existential crisis, which exists, early on, is really magnified and just made real. And to your early question about this, I did have those thoughts. I can remember as early as 5 years old having those really creepy sci-fi, where do I come from? Is life real kind of thought. And I didn't identify it until maybe a couple months ago as adoption related. So, it was before that, but it's just that a lot of stuff can sort of unfold, and it's not clear that it's adoption related, and then it turns out to be adoption related, which is both comforting and infuriating and overwhelming. Those are three things, so that's not a both.
Wow. And Astrid, I know you could speak to this. What could you add to this?
Yeah. So Gail, I super appreciate you asking this question, because I think that the conversation around trauma and adoption is not something that we historically have had language around. Where the whole title of Suzanne's play, The Good Adoptee, is exactly that we've only been able to speak about adoption and this happy creating a family, and it's this wonderful experience without talking about the trauma. And I think that this play does such a beautiful job as far as the speaking about the trauma, speaking about coming out of the fog. There's a term in the adoption industry that it talks about coming out of the fog, and that is kind of coming to this realization that my life started off in this traumatic space of losing my mother, of being separated from this person in my life, that most people don't have to experience that, and how that has played out for the rest of your life. And so finding that balance and coming to that awareness and coming out of the fog is something that I think sets us free when we're able to have these conversations like this. And Suzanne's play and Hayley's amazing performance allows us to have these conversations at a very different level. And it really comes to the adult adoptee experience and having a voice and a platform to start talking. We're finally starting to have a place where the adoptee is speaking up, and those of us who are old enough to say, I think I can talk about this in a way that will be educational and informative to others.
That's great. And Hayley, you perform so beautifully. How did you relate to the material and bring it to life on stage, not being an adoptee yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel incredibly lucky that Suzanne and I got to work on this together. I mean, obviously, I can't imagine it any other way. But so much of creating a performance is kind of crafting. Like what is one thought leading to the next thought. And Suzanne was right there in the room to give that to me. And I mean, there's a whole hour of the show that we didn't get to see tonight. And I mean, from the first read through, I was just I was completely, what she's written is just so astonishing. And it takes you on this ride. And honestly, as an actor, it just feels so easy. It feels easy to just go on the ride that she's created. It is, of course, extremely emotional. And it's been incredibly enlightening for me to, because I had friends growing up who were adopted, but there's just so many things if you're not adopted that just don't occur to you. And as Astrid was saying, gaining the vocabulary to talk about those things is so powerful. And there are, while Suzanne's story is very specific and of course doesn't represent everyone's adoptee experience, there's some really stunning kind of universal themes in there too that I relate to. The feeling of, do I belong? Am I enough? I don't know, being a woman in the world is hard. It's just like, there's lots of ways in for me that then Suzanne helped me like flesh out my imagination. And
Great, thank you. There's some comments here in the chat, and Joe Fraser says, I'll never forget making the phone call to my son's adoptive family when I was given his contact information. He was 19 and away on a gap year. I spoke to his adoptive mom for 3/4 of an hour. And says, by the way, I live in Melbourne, Australia, where our contact laws are infinitely better than in the US. Are the laws in the US, are all the states open? Is it easy or difficult in most states to get the information? Is it state by state? Astrid, perhaps answer that.
Yeah. Actually, Suzanne has done a lot of work. New York just opened the records this last year. Yay! So this is a fight that we have been fighting, that the adoptee has as far as open records. And Oregon, the state that I live in, we also have open records. I want to say I'm probably going to get this wrong, Suzanne, if you know, I want to say there's maybe 10.
New York became the 10th and the largest state to, and it's really access to original birth certificates. In this particular fight, I mean, I would love to, have those records that social worker possessed. I feel like I would love to have all of my records, and I thought like you said, Gail, that I was going to. But in terms of the adoptee rights fight, it's been very focused on getting original birth certificates, and that just Cuomo just signed that into law, and last November, and they just opened January 15th. Yeah. So it's actually an anniversary. Since it's July 15th, I'm not going to mess up the math, but it is an anniversary date of that. But it's a, half of them are semi-restricted, and then the other half are completely sealed. And it's just draconian old law from a time before people did DNA, consumer DNA, and a time of great shame and secrecy and shaming of, unwed mothers and all of that. I mean, it's just an antiquated old laws that need to be updated.
Yet the Good Adoptee helped influence legislative change, did it not? How did it influence the change?
We've worked with a lot of different access organizations. We did a whole tour in Connecticut, And we were able to reach lawmakers when they were so when one particular person was even actually running for office, and he actually had no clue about adoption in general or sealed records, and he became a big backer of the bills there. Connecticut is still not open. It was sort of like a fight. Was Connecticut or New York going to open first for a bit? And Connecticut still has not quite opened, but is very close. So we're hoping that the momentum from New York being the largest state is going to move things along.
May I add something? A lot of your listeners might not realize that those of us who are adopted, when we talk about our original birth certificates and the importance of that, because every single one of us who have been legally adopted, on our current legal birth certificate, it states that we were born to the adoptive parents. So it has been amended and changed. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't know that. I have lots of friends who were adopted by same-sex couples, and it says on their birth certificate that the child was born to these two individuals. And so, the fact that we have these documents that exist out there that are purely falsified, and so opening records and access to records, and the work that Suzanne is doing with this and being an advocate for this is huge. It's really important for us. Like if we can't find if we can't have access to our original birth certificates, I think it's making a statement that our original existence is not important. It's not valued.
Right. That's amazing that they would have listed just the adopted parents only. Yeah. We have audience member Ellen Giacomo said early on the recommendation was that connecting to your child with their birth family was important at an early age. However, we feel that maybe that was not such a good idea. This is from their personal experience connecting our daughter with her birth family at the age of 7. Since the age of 7, we feel our daughter has had conflicts between us and parents of her biological family. Do you think that's a good idea then, that it is 18, that people wait till they're older?
So I can speak to that. I think that one of the challenges is that families that are attempting to have some sort of openness or an open adoption with their children's birth family at a very young age, but don't have the support from either their agency or a community or a support group or a therapist involved who can help them navigate this, because these are territory that has not been explored very much. And so a lot of people end up, I think, finding themselves in situations that don't feel very good because they don't have that community support. They don't understand the need for the education, the ongoing education of how do we do this right? Because not very many people have been sharing or exploring how they've done it right or in a healthy way.
And Adoption Mosaic deals with this very thing and bringing a place where people can come. And tell us a little bit about your Adoption Mosaic.
So yeah, Adoption Mosaic, we provide adoption education and support resources. I think the thing that makes us one of the most unique things is our name has the word adoption in it, but we are not a placement agency, and there are not very many organizations. Now we're starting to see more and more with adult adoptees who have grown up and have decided that they want to create organizations like Adoption Mosaic. But basically, we offer this unbiased education and support around adoption without the agency or placement of adoption being any part of it. We help uplift the adoptee voice and create space for adoptees to have platforms to share their stories, and hopefully adoptive parents and adoption social workers and others will hear those voices, and we will change policies as a result of doing that.
Terrific. Let's see, Nancy Welch said that her son was adopted at 11 weeks old and always knew it. And thus far, he has had no interest in finding his birth parents. He's 25-year-olds now, and thought asked that Astrid might comment on that in terms of the future when her son becomes a parent. Is it likely he will feel differently?
So the book that I wrote a chapter in, the Parents as Adoptees, is kind of exploring. And so many of us do find ourselves asking these questions about our own first years, or for our first parents and who we were with once we become parents. That's very common. That being said, I encourage this parent to look at, there's a reconciliation coming out of the fog, and it's kind of the progression of what Suzanne was talking about in her play, that, you know, starting off, she didn't grow up thinking, oh, I'm going to go and search for my birth family. This wasn't something that her evolution and her understanding of how this adoption has affected who she is wasn't until later in life. And we know that between the ages of 18 and 26, developmentally, we're not really fully adults. We haven't really figured everything out. Not that we figured it out when we were 50, but
Right.
helping their son or daughter find some resources around exploring coming out of the fog. If you did a Google search of coming out of the fog adoption, you would find a lot of resources about kind of the progression of stages, those developmental stages of coming to unawareness.
Very good. There's a question for Suzanne. After seeing the show as much as you have, do you find that you still feel you're going on the journey again each time? And she said it's an amazing story that everyone should see, especially adoptive parents, to understand trauma.
Thank you. And I don't think you can be a human being and watch Hayley's performance and not go on a journey with her. You know, I mean, she's incredible. You know, even rehearsing with her, I am constantly engaged and moved and learned something new that I didn't know about the experience, you know, and, you know, even about some of the other characters who sometimes I have, you know, less nice things to say about or feel about. And then I say, oh, you know, oh, she was so vulnerable in that moment. And, oh, I know why that happened and I get it. I mean, there's just so much insight around the adoption experience that I get to experience through working with someone as gifted and giving as Hayley. And also, I love doing this show, like, for adoptive parents. Like, we actually had a special mission the last year or so to bring the show to adoptive parents, and the Long Island Adoptive Families organization, like, came and packed our entire show, and we did the show just for them for 2 nights when we had a run, because they also really wanted to see it. And it's been like a very important exchange to be able to talk to adoptive parents about that. So I so appreciate that. And I think that a lot of times in looking at this, it's this view of like, oh, there's only so much love to give. Like, you could only have love for one set of parents and not 2 sets of parents. And we don't think that around having, you know, with children. You know, you can only have one child, or else you won't have enough love for your children. That's not true. It's the same the other way. So I think that's just so important to kind of embrace on this. And that was part of what I discovered when I was discovering those, you know, really acknowledging my first family and my first ancestors and that whole side of my family and integrating them. And yes, it's better to integrate that at a younger age than in an old age that I'm at to try to catch up with that. But there is enough space and capacity for embracing and for love, that there's no need to have sort of like a parent showdown around these things. It's just not necessary.
Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is such a beautiful healing. It's just a very healing situation to be able to bring it all together for you, and in many ways, I'm sure your adoptive parents, and let alone your birth mother and or parents. There's a question from a YouTube live watcher, which is great because I didn't know we could get questions from the YouTube. Juliet, is there any advice on conversations for first contact with birth parents? Suzanne.
Oh, that's tough. I mean,
go ahead.
Astrid, can I punt that to you?
Absolutely, yes. I think one of the most important things, once again, is finding community and finding support, because at the end of the day, finding your voice. I could never say, well, here's the one way that everybody should do it, because it's so individualistic. It's so important that you are speaking your truth, that you are sharing what you feel is comfortable for you, and that is so personal. And so I think that helping yourself find that voice is by hearing other adoptees, exploring and reading books that have been written by adoptees who have made those first phone calls and who have either hired somebody to help them or not hired somebody, the do's and the don'ts and the pros and the cons. And we just had a 2-hour panel discussion on DNA testing and whether adoptees should or shouldn't. And so I think a conversation, somebody having a conversation with other adoptees, and I encourage you to reach out to your either local adoption community or contact us at Adoption Mosaic, and we will get you connected in some way, shape, or fashion. And now with us, everything being online, I feel like there's more access to community no matter where you are. So that's a great question.
Great. And the producers will post all your websites should all be in the chat there. I do want to say that Barbara Bachner says congratulations to Suzanne and Hayley. And Catherine Lewis says, how can I help my cousin who is in his early 70s and wants to find out about his closed adoption? So again, perhaps that's something that the person could get in touch with Adoption Mosaic with you, Astrid. Yeah, great. And since we're already, the time goes by too quickly. And another person says, I have a cousin who was adopted in a closed adoption and he's tortured by not being able to get any info. No one says they know anything. Can he now find out, even though he was adopted in a closed adoption? Now you're saying that now adoption is open in New York. So yes, we answered that. And again, you have some resources now to be able to look at and call to answer some of these questions. From Marstream, Hayley is amazing. Yes, we all agree. It's a fabulous performance. And let's see, we've had a few different things. I might have missed one of them from Ellen DiGiacomo. I'm sorry if I'm torturing or completely massacring your name there. But about becoming a parent, our daughter left university and then decided that becoming a parent at 19 was what she wanted. We feel it's important to support her in this journey because of her need for acceptance and belonging. So that was their adopted daughter. And here's the listing. So you can look up more information with the JMTC Theatre, Suzanne Beckner and Bob Brader, thegoodadoptee.com. Hayley Palmer, the website is listed there, as well as Astrid. And do you have any closing comments you'd like to make, Suzanne?
I just wanted to say to go to NIARC, which is on our action page, to find out how to get your original birth certificate in New York. There's all the information there.
Oh,
And I also wanted to say Barbara Bachner is my mom, and I am so excited. I didn't know she was going to tune in.
yay. Wonderful. So glad. And Astrid, anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to reiterate that we don't, as adoptees, we do not have to be isolated anymore. And there is this amazing, wonderful community of support, adoptees, also adoptive parents who are coming out of their own fog. And I encourage you to seek us out and find that community, and to not go on this journey alone.
Great, wonderful. And Hayley, we can't thank you enough. Such a beautiful performance. I'm very grateful for you being here. So I want to say a special thank you to you, Hayley Palmer.